Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Roundtree. Please. It's already typed.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many people here this evening. Thank you for joining us for the 2025 Candidate Forum as we speak with candidates for the Cedar Rapids Community School District Board of Ed. My name is Karen Lewis. I am a volunteer with the League of Women Voters here in Linn County. The League is a nonprofit volunteer organization which neither supports nor opposes any candidate for political party or office. The League encourages citizen participation in government. It is open to everyone 16 years of age or older. The forum tonight is part of our mission to inform and to educate voters. We hope over the course of this evening you will learn more about the candidates and what they hope to do for the Cedar Rapids Community School District. Information is in the back of the room. We would love for you to join the League and join us in educating voters and all of our other activities. Our forum is being live streamed on the League of Women Voters Facebook page, and the recording will be there as well. Our candidate forum is going to last about 60 minutes, so we're hoping to get as many questions in as we can. Today, our format will be opening statements for 90 seconds. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond to questions we've collected from the audience. And then we're going to wrap it up with a 1-minute closing statement. And each candidate will have a chance to answer a question first, and we'll vary who starts as we go down the row here. So I'd like to thank all of our candidates for participating tonight. It's wonderful to have a full panel and to hear from all of you.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to mix it up where you start?
Yes, I am. Yep, absolutely. So I'm going to go down the row when I start the different questions.
No, I mean, are you going to mix it up where you start?
Yes, each question. Yep. Yep. So what we're going to do is we might not get to all the questions. We've had great participation from the audience, so I would just remind if you can stay at the end of the forum. If you have individual questions you'd like to ask candidates from your district, they might stay a few minutes extra and help continue the education. So I'm going to ask everyone to turn off your cell phone. Please remain quiet during the forum, no signs or campaign literature. And then after their closing statements, please clap for all of our candidates for coming tonight and for volunteering to serve their community. So I'm going to start with opening statements, and I forgot to tell you, the clock is right there, so she'll wave the panels. There you go. So I'll start with opening statements, and we're going to start with Marcy Roundtree. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Is this my mic?
Yes, the lapel mic.
Good evening. I am Vice President Marcy Roundtree. I have been on this board serving you in our district for 4 years. I am happy to be here and to be running for re-election. And I have been in this district for just about 20 years through volunteered at every school my kids have gone through. My husband still works in the district. So we are a district rich family here that's been dedicated and committed to this work for some time. Glad to be here with you tonight. Looking forward to your questions.
All right. Hi, I'm Laura Zimmerman, and I'm running at large as well. Since moving here in 2011, I have been an educator in the district over at Roosevelt Middle School. I now have 3 children who will be going through the district, 2 currently, over at Erskine Elementary. I have been a community volunteer. I helped with the Believe in CR Schools campaign, going out and getting signatures. I've also helped at the school level. I volunteer in classrooms for events like America Reads. I was the PTO president for 2 years, helping kind of bring it back after COVID wiped out our PTOs for a while. And I also have my master's in education, so I believe I bring some perspective, some background that, as we want to serve our educators, our students, I hope to bring that to the table.
Before you start, David, Everyone can hear, because I know we're not using a
yeah,
microphone.
sorry.
I just want to make sure everyone
Should we
can
be
hear.
using that
okay.
one?
Thank you. All right.
We
David,
have
thank you.
Right. My name is David Chung, and I am a lifelong Iowan. I've been in Cedar Rapids now for around 35 years. My wife and I have 8 children who've gone through the Cedar Rapids community schools, and over years I've been a volunteer in a number of the schools, like we said, where my kids have gone to school. Everything from coaching math counts in middle school to using, and when you have 8 kids, you have a 15-passenger van, to deliver those fruit sales for the Band of Blue or the Jefferson Show Choirs. I'm a West Sider. And I've even taught a semester-long computer programming class in the early days of computing at Jefferson High School. I'm also teaching as a family business, a lot of teachers in my family, and they call me a teaching tourist. On occasion, because I have some flexibility in my work schedule, I have been a substitute teacher and spent time in the classroom in front of students teaching tourists because I get to pick and choose. I have a degree in math, so I like advanced math classes. I'd love to do a French class. And I have been involved in this district. I could tell you stories about the impact this district has had on my kids. And soon my grandchild will be in this district, so I'm looking forward to the future.
Okay, I'm hoping this works. Okay, it does. Hello, everybody. My name is Mimi Dawood, and I am running for District 2 of the Cedar Rapids Community School Board, and I am really excited to say that I moved to Cedar Rapids in 2019 to attend Coe College, and that really sparked my involvement in the community. I've been a community advocate in several ways. I've been the Director of Operations for Advocates for Social Justice, where I did a lot of volunteer management, helped organize the Linn County Expungement Clinic. I currently serve on the board of Our Future Iowa, which equips emerging leaders in Cedar Rapids and pays them a livable wage to pursue community passion projects. Currently, I serve as a student success and engagement coach at Kirkwood Community College, which is a wonderful connection, especially to the Cedar Rapids Community School District and the ways we support students in different career pathways and in pursuing higher ed and continuing their education. Most recently, I served before this job as a sexual assault survivor advocate at the Riverview Center, where I learned to listen, not just to hear, but to understand, to advocate, to strategize, and to come up with a strategic plan on how to best serve the people I'm serving, right? The people in front of me. And I'm excited to bring that experience to the Cedar Rapids School Board. I'm happy to answer your questions today, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight, to each of you here in the room, those who are online tonight, and to the other candidates who've been willing to be here tonight as well and to run for school board. I'm Scott Drzymski. I'm running because I think it's time for some change in our district. I love the Cedar Rapids district. I'm a dad. I'm a graduate, lifelong Cedar Rapidian. And I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of the peers that I went to school with, and now some of the peers that have been educated with my kids who are starting to look at other districts when they want to find a house or when they choose where their kids are going to go to. I'm tired of our best teachers, many with decades of experience who are either retiring early or leaving for other districts in other places. I bring voters more than 30 years of experience in communications, fiscal management and budgeting, building consensus in public and private settings. I've helped organizations recover from disasters, guided new projects from scratch, and helped employees make sure that they were accountable for meeting expectations of their job. I think this is the kind of leadership our schools need: practical, transparent, and student-focused. That's what I've done throughout my career, and now I want to share that expertise as a member of the Cedar Rapids School Board. Thank you.
That was good.
Thank you, everyone here tonight. I really appreciate people that have shown up. Even if we don't agree, you do agree that you're supporting public education, so I want to thank you very much for that. I'm Jennifer Borcherding. I'm the Director of District 3 for the Cedar Rapids Community School District. I've been on the board for 8 years. During that time, I've consistently made decisions and advanced conversation based on community feedback and data, while focusing always on what the best outcome for students and staff. My board conversations and voting record prove this. I am comfortable being in the minority on a vote when needed. I believe this is the reason CRCSD staff asked me to run for re-election. I believe meaningful learning takes place in schools where educators are respected and relationships are nurtured. I believe the district has not appropriately supported building staff to enable them to guide student achievement while also delivering on high-quality instruction. I have been and will continue to be a voice that insists on building staff empowerment and student achievement as our top priorities. High student achievement leads to a successful workforce for tomorrow. To accomplish this, we need to do better. CRCSD is below the state average for reading and math proficiencies and graduation rates. We also have higher absentee rates than the state average. While the academic achievement gaps have shown improvement, we need to increase staff support to reach our goals. The relationships between students and staff must remain a clear priority. My goal is to continue doing this publicly at the board table, making sure the process has been transparent and that all stakeholder voices are considered. The essence of CRCSD lies in our identity as students, educators, and as a community invested in our own success. Thank you.
I just want to take a second to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this and for all of you in the community for being here. I've attended these forums on and off for the last decade since I returned from college, and it's an experience to be sitting on the other side here. So thank you all for being here. My name is Ashley Burns, and I'm running for the Cedar Rapids School Board here in District 3. I'm running because, like others have said here, I believe that our schools, Cedar Rapids, is at a turning point. And the next few years are going to determine whether our district thrives or is hindered by outdated and old thinking. We just can't afford business as usual, and it's time for a change. We're heading into an just increasingly difficult climate that is only going to intensify from here, and I think many of us in this room are aware of that. We're dealing with some systemic barriers like underfunding at the state and federal level, the voucher system, and then also just like was mentioned before, students migrating out of this district. So I graduated from Creighton University in 2015. I've lived in Cedar Rapids my whole life. By training, I'm a political and community organizer, but I've also held a number of roles here in the community, currently serving as on the team here at the Cedar Rapids Public Library and Foundation. But I was also a surgical technologist at Mercy, and many of the kids, the babies that I helped deliver are now entering the public school system, and they're sort of my inspiration here for running. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your opening statements and remarks. We have assembled some questions from the audience, and we are combining some like questions because we want to make sure we cover a variety of topics. So I'm going to have our first question go to Laura, and then from Laura we'll go down the row to answer it. Not surprisingly, it's about the bond issue. We have a lot of interest in that topic, so the basic question is really, what is your opinion on the proposed bond issue? Support, yes or no, and why?
I definitely support the bond as it's written right now. Back in 2023, the last one that failed, I was supportive because I support our schools. This time I'm supportive because it is good, and it has gotten so much community feedback. I personally have sat down and talked with Chad Schumacher, our facilities director, multiple times because he cares that a community member wants to share and give input. So I really do feel like they're listening. I was also on the task force, and that was a great demographic. Most of our community was represented. Parents, families, people who weren't in the schools were also represented. And I felt like it really is serving our history. That's what we have compared to Linn Prairie. We have our old buildings that are beautiful. I was at Roosevelt for 11 years, and it needs a lot of help, but it is a beautiful school. And I know a lot of our community wanted to preserve it. I also appreciate that we need to be more modern, and so they're getting us there through just taking the good bones, and they're making it going to look like this, right? So yes, I think it's fiscally responsible as well. They listened to our community when they said, gosh, 200 million is too much. They made changes. So I really do feel like it has been solid, it's been thought through, and yeah, it's good.
Well, Well, I guess I'll start by saying this will be your first opportunity to see that I'm not afraid to be the only one to stand on an issue. I strongly oppose this bond. You go back to 2023 and the bond referendum that included funding for that school out on Highway 100, that consolidated middle school. That failed to even get 40%. It required 60 to pass. The board did not understand what the community wanted, and that was neighborhood schools. They were not in favor of it. So that failed, fair enough. The PPEL levy came up the next year, and the district said, this was to keep our kids safe, warm, and dry. Who could vote against that? We love our schools in Cedar Rapids. 70% went for it, and the district used $7.5 million of that to buy the land for the school we said we didn't want. At the beginning of this year, the district was planning to ask for the money to build that school in the $200 million plus bond proposal that came out initially. At least they listened and rolled it back because they knew that the community would say no. As much as I am a supporter of our schools, and there are issues with our physical plants and all of that, this would send the wrong message to the board. We do not support what they've tried to do, what they did with the bait and switch about the $7.5 million. I am voting no, and I believe I'm the only one of these candidates who is voting no.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying that I do support the bond. Bonds are essential to maintaining safe facilities, maintaining equitable facilities for our students. I think that the fact that we've gotten to a point where we now are resorting to portable classrooms for our students is unacceptable. It should not have taken 25 years for Cedar Rapids to get this, well, we haven't even passed it yet, right? But we're closer than we've been in a long time, and it should not have taken this long. Bonds are meant to create proactive, routine spending using public funds for public schools to ensure that we have equitable facilities for our students, regardless of what neighborhood they live in. And so because of those reasons, I support this bond. However, I do want to acknowledge the lack of public trust in the school board and in the previous bonds that have failed. There's a reason for that. I think part of that is a lack of transparency and inconsistent dissemination of information of behind-the-scenes conversations that happen with the school board to the public. Any conversation about public funds and how they're being used should be public. And so my goal as a school board director, should I be hopefully elected, is to ensure to create that community buy-in. How can we empower families to continue being part of those conversations? How can we as a board be super transparent and disseminate our information as much as possible to get that trust back from our community so that the next bond and the next bond passes?
I do support the bond. I feel like the projects that are part of this are necessary, that are historic core schools in our neighborhoods. They're too big to fund through PEPL or SAVE, and so this is the opportunity to make these major investments. And I support that in part because it's a good investment for the taxpayer. The fact of the matter is that if we don't invest in these schools, and we don't start doing that soon, they continue to see degradation, and that only costs taxpayers more down the road to fix. The return on investment is there. These are focused on student life safety issues and making sure that those are taken care of. That's why I support the bond. I'll echo a little bit of what Mimi said here. It strikes me that even with that, when you ask someone why you don't support the bond, the number one thing that comes up is trust. We don't trust the money's going to be spent well. So tonight what I'm going to suggest is it's time to bring back the Oversight Committee. I don't know if you know this, but when SILO was first passed, you were required to have an Oversight Committee that would look at everything before it went to the board and have approval. That disappeared a few years ago. And so with the passing of this bond, if I'm elected to the school board, I will ask for a policy that puts back into place the PEPL, SAVE, and a bond oversight committee to look at this before it would get to the school board.
I think that, is it on?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think that a lot of the issues about bond have already been addressed. I'm going to take a little step and just kind of provide some clarification on some sore spots. So per law, bonds cannot be used to pay for staff. That's really important to know. I wish it could be, but it cannot be by law. It can only be used for physical creation or improvement. The purchase on the property off of 100 was based on enrollment and residential projections at the time. It was based on data. However, I would want to see new enrollment projections since we've had charters and other competitors kind of come in to see if it would even be worth developing that area. But what I do want to say is this is an asset. If you look at the financial statement, this is an asset. It's listed as an asset. It was purchased below market value. I would not be opposed to selling it if we have no reason to hold it. As funding continues to get constricted for both the state and the federal level, we need to focus on making sure that we're delivering high quality instruction and supporting our staff that's in buildings. That one-to-one relationship between teacher and student, or any building member and student, is what really equals success. So I do support the bond. I think that it'd be great if we could have some new up-to-date schools that were ADA compliant fully. And I do think that students and the staff would like to have a new learning and working facility.
I am enthusiastically in support of the bond, and I have made it a pretty big component of my campaign and why I am running for office. Very early on, I was proud to collect signatures and then also distribute the yard signs and just be a part of this campaign. After just many conversations with individuals and with the campaign committee, I'm just really thrilled about the progress that has been made, and I think we're closer than ever to getting to that 60% with all of your support. It's been 25 years since a bond has been passed, and we really need to do something to get more consistent, where we can slowly pass bonds just more consistently rather than waiting, decades to do so. A couple of statistics. The average age of our buildings are 62 and a half years old, and that is just, it is expensive for repairs. It just really is more fiscally responsible for us to invest in our schools. And one of the things that hasn't been mentioned but I find absolutely fascinating is that, I'm sure many of us are aware, but in collecting petitions for satellite locations, it came back from the auditor that 3 of our 4 schools that we petitioned for are ADA inaccessible, meaning that we can't even allow voters to come vote because they are not open and available to everyone in the community. And that is not the spirit of our public school system. They're the great equalizer.
Thank you. All right, for the next question, we'll start with David answering. Yeah, thank you. All right, and this question is around teacher morale and retention. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
I was wondering.
You certainly should say it. Apologies.
No problem. I was confused, but that's okay. So just so much has already been said about the bond, and absolutely I support the bond. Our teachers, our staff, our kids deserve to go to school in buildings that are ADA compliant, that are safe. One of the things that when we were having this discussion, many teachers just kind of express some of the things that they go through in these older buildings. And when I have a teacher come to me and say, I have to teach my class in a coat in the wintertime because windows are not working well and heat is not working well, we owe it to them to provide them working, nice buildings to work in and to go to school in. And one of the things that was so big for me is that when we tried to pass a $220 million bond, the community said, hold up, wait a minute. And you spoke, and we listened, and went back to the drawing board, and came up with what we have right now, and that is impressive. Because when I think about the schools, these are our schools. It's not just the school over there, but it's your school too, in your communities, in our neighborhoods, and so those things matter. So do I support the bond? Absolutely. We deserve it. You deserve it. And this is something that hopefully it does pass. I have faith in that it will, and it's something that we all can be proud of. I gotta stop? Okay.
Pass that down, and thank you again for keeping me on topic. All right, so let's head back to that second question with David. And the question is, are you concerned about teacher morale and teacher shortages? how will you advocate to attract and maintain the best teachers?
I'm very concerned about teacher morale and teacher shortages. In fact, I'll say it, it's a bigger issue than our buildings. The quality of our teachers, the ability to keep committed, long-term experienced teachers is the number one thing that will make or break this district, the ability to attract new teachers who are talented and willing to learn their profession. And right now, we are in a crisis. The district's own survey said, 45+% at 2 of our high schools were planning or thinking on leaving if they could, at 27% at the third high school. You'll hear teachers talking today. It was reported in the news elsewhere. I've heard it anecdotally. I certainly haven't spoken to every teacher. But about the leadership style currently in the district. And we're talking about our superintendent. And that being top down, that being my way or the highway. And you get into that when you start talking about freshman academies and career pathways. When that was presented to the community pushed back and said, hey, you can't even answer these questions. Fortunately, the district said, okay, we'll put off the implementation. But you know what? Staff said the same thing. They said, hey, we're going to have aviation at Jefferson and medicine at a different school. Who's going to teach that? There's a shortage of teachers. They felt like they were left out of the process, not prepared, and the district was saying it was a done deal. So yes, I'm very concerned about that, and we need more transparency from the top down and more input from our teachers and staff.
I see our teachers working under tremendous pressures. They are balancing incredibly large class sizes. They're having to juggle administrative burdens and have high expectations of having to implement new curriculum, new programs with no reasonable rollouts or very limited resources. And students in turn then feel these pressures. And I believe to improve this, we have to invest in smaller and more manageable class sizes. We have to provide meaningful professional development, support salary schedules with the Steps in Lane movement, support teacher wellness in general, and ensure that teachers and staff are active participants in any decision-making process as it relates to education. They're the professionals, right? As a school board director, I'm not naive enough to think that I have all the answers. I know that I don't. I know that I'm not the best professional or the best expert in these spaces, but what I can say is that I will advocate for the professionals who know more than me. I will make sure that they have a real voice on the school board, that they have true representation. I'm honored to say that I received the endorsement from the Teachers Union, the Cedar Rapids Education Association, and I think part of that has to do with a lot of the conversations I had with educators about the lack of morale in the schools and the lack of support, seeing that there's a lot of administrative fluff in pay and there's not enough pay increases for teachers, and teachers notice these things. They pay attention, and that makes them feel not supported. And so how can I as a school board director support them in those ways? And it's by being their biggest advocate. Thanks.
I'm very concerned about morale, and I put that in my opening statement because I did a lot of door-to-door. I got a couple hundred signatures just to get on the ballot, even though I needed 50. And part of that was because I kept getting someone reaching out to me as an educator and saying, hey, can you come over? I'll sign your petition. And I would joke with my wife, I'm just running over. We got a lot in our neighborhood, a lot of educators in our neighborhood. And I'd say, I'm just going to run over to so-and-so's house. I'll get their signature, and I'll be right back. And 45 minutes or an hour later, I'd come back. And my wife would say, well, how many signatures did you get? And I said, 1. And that's because when you got into the room and you started talking to the educator, you started to hear things. You had the math teacher who had curriculum rolled out before they had books last year. And they're just trying to get their head above water now. You've got the teacher who's been teaching technology classes that was so excited about the CTE rollout, the Career Technical Education rollout, but was never talked to about their role in that or what they saw as important. You've got the parents who are trying to decide, as teachers in the district, should we send our kid to a different district to avoid the pathway program? That's a problem. And we need to have the conversation. We need to bring our teachers into the conversation and get their input and hear from them. And that's how you start to turn morale around. I'd love to pay them more. I'd love to have smaller class sizes. We're going to have to fight at the state on that. But this is what we can do right now to help our teachers.
Thank you. I'm very aware of the morale issue that our district currently has, although when you are the board of directors, you don't have direct conversation with staff. The way that information reaches you is a little bit differently. But I do have pre-existing relationships. Before I was on the school board, I was a paraprofessional. I was a substitute paraprofessional with level 3 autism, and I also worked at Johnson, Hoover, and some of our other schools. And then I was a substitute teacher. The reason why I ran initially is because I saw the workload that was being piled on the teachers at that time, and I can just tell you that it's only increased since then. It's only increased, and right now we don't have very strong parameters around the work, so it's creating some chaos. And with chaos comes confusion and mistrust. Teacher morale is a real problem. I think my recognizing that and always having been an advocate for teachers is why CREA endorsed me and asked me to run for this seat again. I think that we need to be very mindful of IPERS at the state level. There was a news story coming out today that was recommended that IPERS be dissolved. That can only be done through the legislature. So it's not done by just the governor, it has to be done through the legislature. That needs to be protected. We also need to protect our voluntary early retirement incentive program. It's a very expensive program to run, but it is absolutely worth it. We need to make sure that we're valuing our teachers.
So like everyone else here, I absolutely understand that teacher morale and staff retention is a huge issue. I think there are several ways to go about addressing this, but none of that can be accomplished without talking directly to our teachers and staff. Like many of us here, I've been having those conversations in the community as well. And the one thing that it always comes back to is I constantly hear how much our teachers love their students and for the most part their jobs. And it's some of the other stuff that gets in the way. But you also hear about how much the students love their teachers and the people that they work closest with. There's so much that teacher does in this community for our students, and they deserve to be protected, and they deserve to have the opportunity to excel not only in their careers, but to help raise the next generation. I think a couple of things, like Jennifer said, advocacy is going to be really important here too in the next legislative cycle, moving forward, protecting IPERS, some of those things that are going to come up, and we can all use our voices to be advocates in that arena. I also think, indirectly, I don't think it was mentioned up here, but these new buildings and this bond issue is a way to almost thank our teachers too. Because modernizing our facilities and giving that opportunity to say, hey, we appreciate our schools, that's important too. So.
I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. Teacher morale is low, and that is something that I am very, very aware of, and something I've been talking about is really boosting this initiative to restore the joy of being a teacher. I bring insight from the inside. I go into these buildings and I check on our teachers. I see about their day when they have had a loss in their building. I show up and offer condolences, see how they're doing, what supports that I can offer. So I work very close with our teachers. Even though I'm on the board, it is something that I'm so passionate about. And I know that I'm one person, but sometimes if you just show up in the building and knock on the classroom door, just the fact that they can see your face because you're connecting with them, because you care about the morale being low. And that's something that I've been able to connect with our teachers with, and it has been really a good experience. Because you hear it from them firsthand, and I live with a teacher, so I understand what it's like to be a teacher. And so one of the things that I strongly am very passionate and serious about is supporting our teachers. Yes, the morale is low, but I will continue to put that work in to make sure that the joy of being a teacher is restored. There's some things that are passed down from a federal level, state level that we can't do anything about. But I'm willing to dig in and find what I can to be of an assistance and a resource to our teachers.
All right. So I was a teacher in the district for 11 years at Roosevelt my whole time. And I would say the biggest thing that kept me there, and I think what will keep our teachers is the quality of life that they feel at their buildings. Do they feel safe and secure? I think that is very important. A lot of teachers are leaving because they don't feel backed by their administration. So I would encourage top-down leadership, supporting our teachers, and then also consistency across the district, knowing that teachers are going to expect the same at a Harding versus a Wilson versus a Roosevelt. I also think as I'm talking to teachers, talking to my friends from my time in the classroom, is that they don't feel like they are listened to or respected. And I think that's something I've heard everyone say, that we want to bring that value. We are here for them. We're here for our students and our families, but our teachers are making it happen. They're going in and doing the work of our purpose, which is education, right? Every day. And so ensuring that they have a positive quality of life, and yes, like some people have said, there's some things we don't have control over, but what can we help with? Can we help them feel more safe and secure? And I think like the bond issue will help with that. But I also feel like dealing with student behaviors, which is on a high, we need to deal with that as well. So again, I think valuing them, they need to know that they're valued by us, and then we can attract them to our district.
All right. All right, that's the end of that question. So maybe?
Oh, it is. Sorry. I don't know. I was like, I thought
Yeah,
you
you're
still
the
had to
beginning
go.
of that.
I've been not tracking them on the sheet.
My bad.
I will make
I was trying to
that
advocate for you. My bad.
Vouchers is our next topic. So the question really is, how do vouchers impact the CRCSD? And how, if possible, can we neutralize their impact?
Wow, what a loaded question. First and foremost, I think that vouchers, any effort that takes away public funds away from our public schools, is a bad policy. It's a bad procedure. We need to keep our public funds in our public schools. We need to ensure that our tax dollars, our tax money is going to provide resources to our teachers, to our educators, is going to provide resources to our buildings and our building staff. And I think that when we take that money away and we put it towards private schools that already have incredibly high tuitions and already have a level of resources that our public schools don't have, we're creating inequitable access to our facilities and to our schools. So a lot of what happens then is that the neighborhoods that have a lot of lower socioeconomic families can't afford lunches, and the schools struggle to pay for free and reduced meals. Their facilities aren't modernized and they're not renovated on a regular basis. Our students feel these impacts. And so the best ways that we can curb that, I think first and foremost, is we don't utilize legislative advocacy enough as a school board. We have the means and the power to contact our legislators and use our platforms that you've elected us to as school board directors to contact our legislators and do some legislative advocacy. And I think also ensuring that if there are any cuts to be made in the budget, it's first to out-of-district contracting expenses, any administrative unnecessary cuts, and ensuring we put it back into our classrooms.
So I was looking around on the internet the other night, and I came across a pro-ESA website that said, for Iowa, that said every child deserves access to choice in education. The problem is that not every child has that choice in our state. If you've got an IEP, if you're an English language learner, if you have some behavioral issues, you either don't even get a chance or you may get sent back to the public schools. That's not competition. And that's a huge problem. I agree, we need to advocate for change at the state level, and I support that. But at the same time, I'm a realist. I know how the legislature is made up right now in Des Moines, and I don't see that it may change little bits and pieces. You may even see a change in governor here in another year. But to say that ESAs are going away is a really heavy lift. So here's what I want to do while we advocate. We got to focus on making our district a district of choice, a district that people want their kids in. Our neighborhood schools are an advantage that we have. We also have the advantage of larger schools, larger programs, and opportunities to do things that you may not be able to do at a small school. I just chatted with somebody the other day that said, we thought about Xavier, but they don't have an orchestra program, and my kid's in orchestra. So what are our advantages that we have in the Cedar Rapids School District? The teachers, the programs, the educational opportunities, the AP classes. Let's market those and sell those. If we're going to be in competition, we might as well compete, and we're going to win in Cedar Rapids.
So I think public money belongs in public schools, and I think it's really important for people to know that if you're an owner of an ESA or a voucher program, a private school, you are not required to be an Iowa citizen. That is Iowa taxpayer dollars leaving our state to benefit somebody else. I think that's an important part to know. However, vouchers are here, and we're gonna be successful when we provide alternatives to vouchers. The way we're gonna do that is with high quality instruction. If we have really high reading and math scores, if we're supporting our staff to go in there and we're letting teachers teach, and we have high test scores, people will flock to us. They will choose us again and again because they want success for their student, they want success for their community. I think it goes back to like maintaining that relationship in the classroom, making sure that our teachers are appropriately staffed and supported, making sure that our culture and climate throughout the district is welcoming to staff, to visitors, and to students and families. We absolutely can offer what vouchers say they're going to offer, but the thing that's going to be really great about us is that we really are going to offer it to everybody. We are going to provide free and appropriate education to everyone. We're required to do it by law, but we're going to, even if we weren't, we would do it anyway because it is the right thing to do. It's what a community deserves and it's what a community needs.
I love this question because there's nothing, really hardly anything that makes me more upset than the voucher system right now. And it's something that I've been advocating against for years. I myself am a product of private education. I attended St. Matt's, Regis, and Xavier, and though it was a formative experience for me, and some of those teachers remain true friends today, it only solidifies the fact that public dollars must remain in our public schools. I graduated in a class of 209, and I can tell you, over on 42nd Street, we did not represent the majority of Cedar Rapids students. I think we all know there's a lack of accountability. We have no idea where that money is going, and nobody is accountable in the same way that we are in the Cedar Rapids Community School District. Legislative advocacy is something that is, again, it comes back to it, and it's incredibly important. But I've also been kind of thinking about and toying with this idea of maybe how do we work with those private schools, and how do we talk to Chris McCarville over at Xavier and really make sure that they understand that the way that they're marketing is impacting our public school system, and what are those changes that we can talk about? What conversation can we?
All right, what was the question again?
No, that's okay. Vouchers. And we're talking about how do vouchers impact the CRCSD and how could we neutralize their impact?
Yeah, they greatly impact it because parents have that choice to have that experience for their children. But I think of the all in this together theory. We gotta get with our parents and find out what they want. They have to, open up buy-in for our parents, our community, all in this together to figure out what is it that you want, what you desire, what would make our district stand out. What is it that, because, all in this together means community, means our family, means our educators, means our students. And we can get this figured out and we can create something so beautiful that you're right, it will drain dry the voucher takers, right? And so that's what I'm into, is really trying to dig in on this all in together theory, to really dig in and help this district to become what it really can be. Because we can create something beautiful. We really can. And I have high hopes for that. And I am all in for it. They tell me my time is up, so I'm going to go. But yes, all in together. Oh, I got 15. And so.
Oh, man. Yes. Well, I'm not going to, repeat. There's so many wonderful things said, but I think, families want choice. And the wonderful thing about our district is we provide choice. We have magnet schools. We have Iowa Big, City View. I was at Roosevelt, project-based learning. We're starting now. I mean, we'll get there. I know the Career College Pathways wasn't well received at first, but if it's what's best for kids, that's what we'll do. And so we're going to provide things for families that they don't. I love what I think it was Scott said, that we provide a competitive enough edge that people aren't going to leave. And so again, just investing in our district and choices for families, and finding out what families want, what would keep you, why did you leave, I think is really valuable. And I think we have a really good thing going, and we just need to maintain that and get family feedback.
Well, this issue of vouchers is an important one from my point of view as well. My perspective is going to be different on this to some degree. I had 8 kids in Cedar Rapids Community School District. All of those 8 kids were homeschooled at some point in time. Several of them went to private schools. We had choice. We didn't have vouchers. We had to pay for that. There's no school more expensive than private school. Typically means than homeschool. Typically means one parent has to stay home, and you give up one income. So I was not in favor of vouchers from a fiscal point of view. I don't think they're a good idea. But one of the questions you have to ask is, why is it attractive? Why was Xavier attractive before vouchers, when it costs a ton of money for parents to send their kids there? We've heard several people up here say people are sending their kids or considering leaving the district to go to other schools. The problem isn't vouchers. The problem is that we have not done a good job of making the Cedar Rapids Community School District the district of choice for people who live here. This is a problem that predates vouchers. Vouchers have added a fiscal aspect to this, but what we need to do is support our teachers. We need to listen to our parents and create an educational environment that people want to be in. They shouldn't want to use that voucher to go to school X or school Y if the best experience in town, and I'm a West Sider, is at Jefferson or Kennedy or Washington.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to try and squeeze in one more question here before we get to closing statements. So Scott, you'll start. And this question really is around the Pathways program. Looking at can you speak to the implementation of it and really the impact it has on families and just the general education approach? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there are other districts that are doing the Pathways program and have had success with it, and that's great. We're always going to be a little bit different in Cedar Rapids than maybe a Linn-Mar or a Prairie, in part because you've got the 3 different high schools, you've got 3 different experiences that you're working up towards. There can be some advantages there, right? But there's also some challenges of implementing programs. But I think one of the biggest issues is I've talked to parents, especially those who are now looking at their kids potentially going in there, is the lack of communication around it. It snuck up on them, and that should not ever be anything that happens in the educational system, especially for parents, right? And so we need to go back and explain the value of it. We need to talk about what it looks like, what we like about that, what we don't like about that, and have that conversation with parents. We need to make sure that teachers are part of that conversation as well. What works for the Cedar Rapids Community School District that might be different from someplace else? I feel like sometimes we pick up flavors of the day and we implement those and we try to get those in place. And sometimes we're so excited about them, we want to get them done quick. But we cannot do that. We need to make sure that we have parents involved in those conversations. We need to make sure that we are creating the programs that work well in our Cedar Rapids schools and that we're serving our students and our parents well, and they're part of that decision-making process.
I'm going to echo a lot of what Scott said. I think as a district, we're doing too much. We have too many large initiatives. We're pushing them too quickly. And because of that, it's just creating a lot of confusion. And when you have confusion, it builds mistrust. I think the Pathways program, I do believe in project-based learning. I used it when I was in a classroom. Some kids really excel under it. I don't think we have the structure in place for appropriate vertical articulation into the rest of our high schools. I don't think the structure between freshman and sophomore exists. And if it does exist, it doesn't exist well. I think this is one of those areas where it is beneficial. It has been successful in other areas, but we need to slow down. We need to slow down. We need to listen to people. We need to talk to our teachers. Hey, what do you need? Do you guys have the supports you need? Do you have definition around the work? Do you understand what the goals are? Do you understand how this fits into the rest of our system? There seems to have been a lack of communication around that, and it's really disappointing. I think also we need to be really careful about that word required. It was not required this year. It is now required for freshmen. I am very resistant to that. I don't think anything should be required. It should be an option. And if it's a good option, students will want it. And if it's a good option, families will want it. I think we need to slow down. I think it is, project-based learning is valuable, but I think we need to slow down and re-examine what that implementation looks like.
So I am in support of the Pathways program. I think the thing that is, that's really cool to hear and that I've heard from others is just that it offers a path for all students and a way to get involved in the community and really figure out what it is that you enjoy doing and in opportunities that maybe weren't involved to some of us as we were going through school. The one thing about it that I do also appreciate is just the opportunity for kids to meet their community members and to form relationships with businesses and things like that. So if they do decide to go off to college or not, those relationships are formed here, and maybe some of those kids may come back and work in this community. I will say that there needs to be some more significant oversight of the career technical, the careers pathway. I think just even this year I've funneled some questions too, just about transportation and things like that. So those logistical issues, we know that this can work. We should look to Iowa Big and Metro High School and the amazing things that those students are getting, gaining opportunities and access to. But I also think it's important to note that it is the current board who has implemented some of this so far. And so I think some accountability needs to happen on that end, and perhaps sometimes it's time for a change in voice.
Thank you. So the career, the freshman academy, there's a difference between a good idea and a right now idea. That, once again, when I talk about the theory of all in together, the community spoke, right? Parents came out, they spoke about how they felt about it. And one thing that I kept hearing is, it's not a bad idea, but the implementation, the rollout was rough. There was not proper information. There was not clarity and transparency and all those things. And so those things have to happen. So applying pressure in those areas is going to be really, really important. It's a good idea. I do believe it is, but it needs to be worked through. There's so many other things to consider, like Director Borchening said, just the weight of it all. And that is a really, really true thing. So I think that if we can work together and as a board advocate for clear transparency, listening to the voices of our parents, listening to the voices of our students, that is going to help us a lot. But I do believe that it is a good thing. But is it a right now thing? And it already is. So we're just gonna have to put that pressure to continue to be clear, concise, and making sure that we're connecting with the people that matter the most.
Yeah, so I agree with what's been said. I feel like it was rolled out with good intent. Obviously, it will be great for kids if they can connect with community partners and have internship experiences while they're still in high school. But the rollout and the lack of communication with not only families but educators who are then going to have to teach these courses. So I think really to prepare our graduates well, we will need to add some of these career college pathway type programming as we see our neighboring schools do. Again, let's slow down, talk to our educators, How would you see this look? Talk to our families. Is this opt-in or is this mandatory? And I think originally it was kind of, this is going to be for everyone, which families weren't really happy about that because we know our students are so unique. They all have different educational paths and plans. So yes, I believe that it's a good thing, and eventually, once we have good planning and good communication with families and educators on how to roll it out, I think it can be something that we can do.
I was surprised to read in the Cedar Rapids Gazette that I'm a supporter of pathways and freshman academies. They didn't misquote me. I filled out a survey. They couldn't see the air quotes when I said, I like the idea. Didn't mean I like the plan right now. Didn't mean I thought we were rolling it out well. I don't. I think it's a horrible rollout. And I think one of the issues that's going to come up is parents are going to be surprised after this bond issue fails or passes that this plan is being rolled out. It's going to be just as much a surprise now as it was a year ago. And that is unforgivable on the part of the district and on the part of the board for not requiring that the district do more to assuage the concerns that parents had legitimately a year ago. Nothing has changed since then, only time has rolled on, and now it'll be a different class of 8th graders who are going to be put in that same position. I like the idea of having more choices, but we're not doing a good enough job of providing a core, well-rounded education for our students. I'm not sure why we think we will do better tracking them off into specialization when we're having trouble with the basics. We need to provide a well-rounded, high-quality education here in the Cedar Rapids schools, across our schools. That's what's going to make our schools attractive to families and community, and that's going to be our answer to vouchers and all of that. Make our schools the destination school. People want to move into the district from Marion and the surrounding communities.
I'm going to echo a lot of what my fellow panelists have already shared. I like the idea of career pathways on paper, right? We like providing students with the opportunity to explore non-traditional avenues for careers, for continued education. These are all great equitable opportunities for students that might not feel college or the traditional continued education path is great for them, and looking to instead make networking decisions, connect with internships, go into specializations that would broaden their opportunities for continued ed. However, the implementation and the rollout of this falls on our educators. It falls on our teachers, and I have heard from teachers directly that it is unmanageable and it is unreasonable to expect how quick of a rollout we've been putting out career pathways in the freshman academy. I also vehemently disagree with making it a requirement for people to attend the freshman academy or participate in career pathways. That's unreasonable. Doing any kind of big change or big initiative like this in the district takes years. If you look at the way that any other school district implements these kinds of programs, it's part of a 5 to 10 year strategic plan. It is not reasonable to implement this in the course of 1, 2, or even 3 years. And so I would, as a school board director, encourage us all to take a step back, slow down, and have much more intensive and intentional conversations with our educators, with our families, on how we can make this a more reasonable rollout.
One moment. So we've concluded our questions from the audience. We have lots of great questions. We couldn't get to them all. Some of the other questions included budget, couple, safety, hiring, diversity. So thank you, the audience, for your participation. And again, thank you to the candidates for being here this evening. So starting, Jennifer, with you, we're going to have 1 minute closing statement. So we'll begin now.
Again, thank you for coming this evening. I think that the district needs to make some very substantial changes. I think we need different and improved board leadership and interaction, providing guide rails around the work that we are saying needs to be done within our district. We need clear accountability based on goals being met or not met. I am one of 7 people on the board. So one person cannot change everything, but I think if you go back and review board meetings and look at my comments and look at my voting record, you will see that I have stayed true to protecting students and staff, using data, and trying to create a system where we're all held accountable for our success and our failures. I think we need to lean more on our own people. We have a wealth of knowledge inside our system. We need to rely more on our people to help us define a path moving forward.
All right, thank you all for being here. I do agree that I think it's time for some new board leadership. Our district, students, staff, families, community members, we deserve a school board that listens, that's accessible, acts, and also moves forward. Not one that's slowed down by division or distractions that take away from the focus of our students and our staff. I think we need leadership. This is going to come back again to the advocacy thing, but as the third largest district in Iowa, I really think that we have an opportunity to lead in that advocacy arena, and I'm really looking forward to doing so. I'm running to rebuild trust through transparent communication, meaningful oversight of the CTE program, and then I really am looking forward to being actively engaged in our classrooms and in our neighborhoods, and having that conversations. I promise to be attentive, responsive in emails and communications and meetings, and yeah, oops, sorry. Thank you guys.
Thanks for the answer. All right.
All right. Well, we're at the end of this. I just, I have served you through COVID, derecho, oh my God, the death of a beloved superintendent, so many things, the hiring of a new one, really really hard times. And I have stayed strong, I have stayed steady, and I have stayed committed. I have connected with our frontline workers, which are our teachers who are in the trenches. I've worked with our families, and I will continue to stay strong and to provide transparency and put pressure on better communication and more community voice input. I am here, and I am looking forward to serving you this next 4 years in the midst of it all. Thank you. I'm Marcy Roundtree, and I approve that message.
All right. I have been in the classrooms. I am now a parent. I am invested, and I'm also showing up in the classrooms still today to help. I've been helping in the community with the district, connecting families, bringing their voices at the district level. I plan on continuing to be a voice that brings the educator voice to the table for board members to understand what it is like in the classroom. I plan on staying connected and committed to the educators currently there, so their voice is still heard at the table. And also for parents, we are serving families and teachers, and I fall into both of those categories. And so I hope to just bring that perspective and that voice when decisions are made for our schools and for our children.
Rather than give you a pitch about why you should vote for me, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Several people up here, maybe all of us, have talked about a lack of trust in the district. I've certainly said it and seen it. The most important, most impactful public official in Cedar Rapids or Linn County is the superintendent of the Cedar Rapids Community School District. And that superintendent, and everyone before her, has been chosen in secret. That is absurd. Iowa State University is looking for a new president. They had a process. They used a search firm. They chose candidates in secret. But once the finalists were identified, they're invited to campus. They will participate in public forums. Their names will be made public, and the community and the press can look them up. If that had happened here, we would have a different secret superintendent. And I think we need to change the way we do that. Trust in the district, trust in the board does not happen under secrecy.
I want to say thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. My priorities for our district are clear. I demand and prioritize honest and transparent communication between schools, families, and community members. I will fight for fair pay and strong benefits and a real voice for educators, not just empty praise. I will advocate for all students in every space, from classrooms to cafeterias to hopefully boardrooms. And I will ensure fiscal responsibility through proactive, transparent, and equitable spending. And I hope to champion public education at the state level, defending IPERS, keeping public funds in public schools, and restoring full collective bargaining rights. We need diversity in thought, in opinion, in walks of life. I would be the youngest school board director. I would be the first Muslim woman school board director. And I'm proud to say that I already have the endorsements of the Teachers Union, the Cedar Rapids Education Association, the Hawkeye Area Labor Council, Linn County Stonewall, Cedar Rapids City Council members David Meyer and Ashley Venorny, State Reps Angel Ramirez and Amy Wickendall, and State Senators Liz Bennett and Art Stade. Together, I know we can build a stronger district for our students, teachers, and families. Sorry, I did not see you.
Thanks again to the League of Women Voters, the candidates here tonight with me at the table, and all of you in the room. It's fantastic to see this many people out and interested in what's going on in our schools. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I believe Cedar Rapids can be a district of choice for educators, for families. You've heard a lot of similarities tonight. You've heard some differences as well. But here's the difference that I can bring you. I've spent decades setting expectations for leaders, managing budgets, measuring outcomes with accountability, and putting communications at the center of what we do, having conversations, gathering input, and then making decisions. What will I bring to the board? A focus on measurable results, not just plans, but proof of growth and success. Transparency and communication so parents, staff, and taxpayers know what we're doing, what we're spending their tax dollars on, and why it brings value. And collaboration, because lasting progress comes when everyone feels heard, when no educational flavors of the day are being picked up and pushed through without educator or parent input. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. If you didn't get a question answered, try and visit with a candidate as we wrap up this evening, or contact them through their website, their email. I would like to thank all of the candidates tonight for coming in and answering openly and honestly all the questions we asked. I'd like to thank the audience for asking wonderful questions, as well as thanking the library and Pro Video for offering this space and for live streaming tonight's forum. So I'd like to remind everyone, your vote is your voice. So please exercise that on November 4th, where our polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And good luck to all of our candidates. Thank you very much.
Alrighty.